Hello everyone, welcome to Sunya IAS. So, we are basically launching the Anthropology Foundation course in the offline and online mode. And for this, we are having this free lecture series. In this lecture series, we started with the unit 2.1, the nature of culture. We had covered some basic aspect related to culture, like how or in what term culture stands for us, how this culture have some characteristics, what are the basic features. We had done with the main point related to the culture pattern, and in today's class we are going to start with the culture process. Culture process, it is the most complicated topic related to the culture chapter, and in this culture chapter this culture process is going to be it is going to provide us the basis that will provide us a foundation through which we will try to understand how the culture later on will emerge or will help the society to flourish, and now how the society is going to provide the basis for maintaining the family system, the marriage system, then later on changing some sort of culture, language, communication, so that we can say we as a human being have evolved and we are different from the other species. Fine. So now, like as in the previous classes also, I told you that if you have any doubt, you can just connect with me. You can also fill the form if you want to connect with me, or if you have any single doubt. So that form is available in the description box. Fine. So now let's start with the today's topic. In today's topic, like first I just want to show you the basic syllabus. The unit 2.1, the nature of culture. The concept and characteristics of culture, we are done with this part. And in today's part, we are going to handle with the cultural process. You will find that there are some sort of repetition in the cultural process where I will try to make you understand the culture evolution. So you will feel, ma'am, you taught these things, savagery, barbarism, civilization, how the culture evolved in the civilization in the previous classes. But here try to understand. Today I will substantiate with the help of some case studies, with the help of some examples of the evolved civilization. So like these things, they really help us to get more and more marks. Fine. Okay, so now let's start. Culture process. Culture process, it means culture as we see in today's era, how it evolved. Process is something which is specified as a continuous thing. Continuous in the sense, like it is not something which is static. Culture is a kind of ongoing process. So it will evolve over a period of time. Why? Like for example, as a human being, we used to say that human anatomy is having one clock system. Like at one certain age, we will start feeling the aging system. Like the collagen in our skin, it will start diminishing. We will start finding some sort of wrinkles on our face. Our lungs, they are not working properly. The vein, they are having the cholesterol. So these things, they started emerging with the passage of the time. Now these things are considered as negative one, but let us suppose in a continuous series, culture is again the same thing. As soon as it started evolving, it will show increasing trend. Increasing trend means culture will start evolving, taking some new things, taking some positive things. But over a period of time, it will start taking negative things. Like, try to understand. The Indian civilization and the Indian culture, it started evolving. Over a period of time, we started giving up some of the negative things, like when there was a ban on the women education, when there were practices like sati pratha, when there were ban on the widow remarriages, when there is no equality. As soon as we started getting in the contact of the Western societies, we started feeling that yes, women, they should get education. Women, in terms of the equality, should get the equal status as the men. So later we started taking these positive things. But over a period of time, now like first the culture, Indian culture, it started taking some of the positive things. And it started evolving in a positive trend. But later on, due to the radical feminism, yes, you heard right. I'm not saying feminism, I'm saying radical feminism. So this radical feminism, it started distorting the Indian culture. It started distorting the Indian civilization. So here, you just need to understand every single culture first increasing on the increasing trend. Like in what terms it is taking those increasing steps? Because it is evolving and taking positive aspects. These positive aspects from society. But later on, with the passage of the time, like due to the radical feminism, the Indian civilization, it distorts its culture. Now the women, they are asking for equality in the drinking, in the smoking, in going to the clubs. Now they are saying that if the boy can go to the club, why not me? Like there are so many other series. There are so many in the YouTube, in the Netflix. There are so many web series which are showing that women can have same negative freedom as men. So this is something distorting the Indian culture, means now the culture is on the decreasing trend, but it's evolving. So therefore, in terms of the culture process, we mean basically a series of activities. So here you can write down the example, the same example that I told you, Indian culture. Oh, I should help you to frame the diagram. Okay, so this diagram is specifying the culture process. Okay, so it is only one type of example. First, let me just simplify with the help of the example. After that, I will help you to understand it in the literal sense, like how you are supposed to write. So here, try to understand in the culture process. So it is nothing but it is one of the example. Now, in terms of the culture process, first what is going to be happen? We will take the Indian culture as a static one. So now the Indian culture, it will start evolve. I am considering here that Indian culture had developed. Now because culture is a continuous process, therefore this culture is started taking up some of the things from other nearby the culture. So here we will come into the contact with the Western culture. So we will have a contact. As a result of this contact, we are going to give up some of the negative attributes of our own culture and we will start reforming. So it will lead to giving up, reformation, and culture evolution. Okay, what are the kind of thing we are giving up? We are giving up negative activities. Example, Sati Pratha. We are reforming over the point. We are started taking women education in the picture, as well as we started providing the right of widow remarriage. But later on, what happened? Later on, it will go on, and now we will come into the contact with radical feminism. Now this radical feminism, it will lead to distortion of Indian culture. Okay, so with the help of this example, I just want to make you understand that culture evolution, this culture process, it is an ongoing process. It will go on and on. Now it depends, it will take up the positive things or the negative things, but for sure there is going to be one time when it will take up the negative things. Now, like in the previous class, I told you we are on the path of taking the cultural revivalism. Now the women, now the men, all the people of the Indian culture, they started taking pride related to their cultural activity. They started taking pride while showing some things in the outer era. Like, let me give you the basic example. Nowadays, like as you know already, there was a terror attack in the Pahalgam. After this terror attack in the Pahalgam, India took some extreme decisions just to take the revenge or just to show the Pakistan their situation. So India immediately hold the control of the Indus Valley Treaty and we withhold the water. But later on, without giving the notice, we just pass on all the water in their lower region and therefore there was a flood. So all the civilization, like I'm not saying this thing with the complete stances, but this is something that is there in the premises of the social media. Like, let me just tell you, I'm not saying here like I'm providing you authenticated information. My intention is just to give you the example, and now here try to understand. This is how we all Indians are perceiving, like this is the decision of India just to take the revenge from the Pakistan. Fine. Now here try to understand the Indian diaspora in London. All those people, they started having some not in terms of protest but in terms of processions. They started holding the water bottle and showing some sort of sign just to show that how India is the father, how India is at the dominant position when India and Pakistan, they were in a front zone. So they just want to signify. Means now the Indian diaspora in London, they are taking pride. They are saying it with the proud that we Indians are strong and we are taking decisions and we are taking revenge. So I hope you are getting my point. I hope you can understand it. So this is how these things they are being specified. So try to understand, this is called as the cultural revivalism. I hope you all are understanding. If you have any doubt, you can ask for. Okay. So just try to understand. Now, could you like show this example of the Pahalgam that I told you? No. As I told you, whenever there is something which is controversial, whenever there is something which can hurt someone feeling, kindly don't show those examples. But why I gave this example to you? Just to make you understand that the people of Indian culture now, due to the cultural revivalism, taking proud of their activities. Another example, like second example, let me give you, which is showing this culture process. At one point of time, we started feeling discriminatory, as well as we started feeling like we are not at the dominant position, while talking about the Indian culture. Therefore, all the people like Indian diaspora in the US, they started celebrating Halloween and Thanksgiving. There was one point of time when these people, they were not at all celebrating their own festival, but now, like approx from the last 4 to 5 years, there was one stream of the cultural revivalism, and now all the people in the USA who are basically Indian diaspora, they are celebrating their festival. Now they are making their own societies and they are celebrating Diwali, they are celebrating Holi, the festival of color. Even the Americans, the people of that region, they are also taking part. Therefore, try to understand culture process. It is ongoing process. At one point of time, we started adopting the other's culture, but now we are showing our culture to the world. Okay, so this is something specified as the cultural process. I hope you can understand. Now, this is the basic example. So, let me specify. This is one of the example. Like this second example I gave you related to that terror attack. So, terror attack, how I just joined those concepts. The London procession. And the third example, the festivals in US by Indian diaspora. One more thing, try to understand. Whenever you are studying related to the anthropology, this subject is like 80% it is static. Paper 2 is having some dynamism, but 80% this subject is static. So therefore, like it is easy to fetch marks in the anthropology, but if you want to achieve that 300 plus, for that you have to add on examples, you have to add on case studies, you have to add on some new refreshing things. It is like the syllabus for anthropology is very small, and more or less every single institute, every single source for anthropology is going to show you repetition. How you can show something different if you are adding such these types of examples, the examples which will show you some of the living things, fine, which will help you to connect with the society. Okay, fine. Now here I just want to show you cultural process in literal sense, how the culture process it is being specified and how you are supposed to write. So here try to understand, they are saying that culture process, because it's a process, therefore it involves a series of activities, and these series of activities, they are helping the individual, through which the individual can produce their code of behavior. Now with the help of this individual, they know how they have to behave and in what way they have to show their activities. Like just take in terms of the basic example, human being, they are having a certain religion. Now, because they are connected with that certain religion, they will have a certain pattern of activities. Like, for example, you must have seen some of the, like, one of the, if I have to give you one of the example, so if you must have seen the movie Bajrangi Bhaijaan of Salman Khan. Kindly don't think that I used to give you the example of Salman Khan movie, so I am a fan of Salman Khan, and not like that. But just try to understand. In that movie, there was that Munni. So they were not able to identify the religion as well as the place of the Munni. So once they noticed that they took Munni along with them at the place of the Hindu religious place, but Munni, she was not able to do the same way how she is supposed to do in terms of the puja and all. But they noticed that she went to their own religious place at one mosque and she started doing the worship in that way only. So from that thing, they started like just knowing about this fact that this is the way how they supposed to, like this is the way she is doing the worship, it means she is having some association with that particular religion. I hope you must have seen that video, or I hope you must have seen that movie. Note it, so just keep it aside, but try to understand. Only with this way, they started evolving that she is belonging to that particular religion. It means every single religion is having one code of behavior. Every single religion is having, like, they are having some certain activities, and those activities which are unique to their culture. So therefore, culture process is one series of activity which will help us to understand how the human being, how the individual, they have a certain guidelines to which they used to behave. Therefore, it is a continuous action, and with the help of this action, culture produces a situation or a change. Okay? Now, another thing that you have to understand, that culture process, it includes something. Means culture is an action, and this action, it promotes the human survival. How the culture can help us to understand that this will take us in terms of a survival thing. Another thing, an action that promotes the human adjustment, and another thing, culture process is taking us to the action that changes the way of life, or it used to resist the change in the way of life. Means now onward, we will try to understand the basic part of the culture process. Like, there are on an average 5 parts of a culture process. These parts of the culture process, they are going to help us that how normally the human being, they have some certain adjustment, how they promote, how they resist changes in their way of life, and these three actions, these three parts, these three parts we will try to understand with the help of the ongoing process. And this ongoing process is related to the parts of the culture process, or the types of the culture process. So now let's try to understand. First thing, we will try to understand cultural evolution. Second, cultural diffusion. The third, acculturation. Fourth, transculturation. Fifth, enculturation. With the help of the name, quite possible you must be confused that these things are something which is new to you, and this is something that you don't know. This is something that is going to be difficult for you to assess. Now I will take up all these parts one by one, and with the help of that we will try to understand how the culture is evolving, how the culture is being specified, like culture in the basic process. Like culture, like if we are evolving, is something that is taking us to the next level. Next level in the way, like, let's try to understand. Culture evolution is nothing but it is development. Now, development is something which will start with one point. Now, that one point could be 0, that one point could be -1, that one point could be 1. It means culture may start evolving from the scratch, or it may start evolving after borrowing some cultural aspect from another culture. So let us suppose if I am starting from the scratch, I am starting with the 0. Now let us suppose if I am borrowing something, then it means I am taking a full-fledged performa apart from another one. It means I have skipped some initial stages. Fine. I hope you are able to understand. Now, cultural evolution, it is something that will help us to understand how the simple society will take us to the complex societies. Every single society, when it will started evolving, it will evolve from the scratch, or if not from the scratch, by borrowing from another societies, but it will start evolving step by step. So culture evolution is nothing but it is a step-by-step process. This step-by-step process, it depends upon various factors. Although it is a continuous process, but it depends upon various factors. Now this process is taking us to the same thing that we studied while we were trying to understand how the culture evolved. So the culture evolved with the help of these stages. So the first thing that we have related to this process is savagery. So savagery means what? They were basically specifying that at one point of time we human beings were dependent upon hunting and gathering. Okay, so we were involved into the hunting and gathering. We were not having something like the group hunting or other thing. We consider ourselves as competitor. And the most important thing for us is in terms of survival. But because culture evolution is it's a kind of ongoing process, therefore from the savagery we changes into the barbarism, and the barbarism was having the family system. We started progressing towards the habitation, and the habitation involved agriculture or farming activities. Not only the farming activities, but it also includes domestication of the animal. Why? Because we were using the animals for different purposes. Therefore, the culture evolution, this process, it will take us from like first to the savagery, then to the barbarism, basically the family system. Now from this family system, we will changes into the organized system. This organized system is specifying the rules and regulations how the society should evolve. And these rules and regulations, these involve setting up government. It involves setting up rules, regulations. Now, you must have heard some basic economic system like capitalist, socialist, mixed economic system. So there are some certain rules and regulations related to each economic system. Let us suppose the capitalist economic system. So capitalist economic system is involving the private hold over the property, the private hold over the assets. Therefore, we like our prime motive is to earn profit, and it doesn't matter how you are earning this. Are you exploitative? In what way you are doing your activities? The most important thing is that you are involving some sort of activities, and these activities are something which are taking you to the next level just to earn more and more profit. Now, the rules and regulations, they are going to be related to just helping that economic system to flourish. Now, taking it to the another level, socialist. Socialist system means government is having the welfare objective, and all the assets, all the property are going to be held by the government itself. Therefore, rules regulations in that organized system are going to solve the purpose for socialist economic system. Therefore, try to understand culture evolution. It is nothing but it is a continuous process. Because it's a continuous process, therefore, we are taking it from these stages wise, like we are taking it from savagery to the family system to barbarism to organized system, and this organized system is having the government, the rules, the regulations in this way. Now this culture evolution, it is a continuous process. Because it is a continuous process, therefore we are evolving. So basically we are evolving over a period of time. So therefore it is ongoing process. Now let me just help you just to understand how or in what way we are taking it. Now every single thing is evolving at one place. Now it is just spreading to the world. Let me give you the example. Now just tell me where the printing press it invented. So printing press it invented where? In China. Now over a period of time it spread out of the China and it spread out from the China to the complete world, and now the world they started preserving their scripture in this way and they started taking usage of the the paper. Now you would say, ma'am, how is it related to the culture process? Now just tell me, have you visited any of the museum Indian which is preserving the Indian cultural things, like any time in your life? If so, let us suppose if you have visited, actually Vijay, you will get one form there in the description box. So you can just fill up that form and our marketing team is going to just connect with you and they will help you to resolve your all the doubts. Okay, fine. Okay, so here try to understand. If you will visit any museum or something, there you will find out the paper not in the form in that form that we are having today. They all were writing on the leaves, and now we are preserving those leaves. So therefore try to understand Indian culture, it was to have the writings on the leaves, and the leaves they were biodegradable. Therefore they used to have one liquid, the liquid just to increase the shelf life, just to increase the life or longevity of that leaves, so that they can preserve their writing. Now as soon as printing press and the paper, it was invented in the China, and as soon as it just entered into the Indian places, we started shifting our writing from the leaf on the paper. So that's how we can say culture is evolving. Culture is a continuous process. So one of the example is printing press and paper, invented in China. Later on spread to the complete world. Look, culture is not restricted to the religious thing. Culture is taking it to the next level, like the dance. Like for example, the karate. Karate it evolved in the Japan. It is basically related to the Japanese culture. But later on, it started evolving, it started spreading out to the complete world, and now all the people they are changing the form of the karatas according to them, and they are having the same thing as a part of some societies, as a part of entertainment, some societies as a part of training, some societies as a part of their defensive skills. So that's how you can understand. Another thing related to the culture itself, you can understand that culture evolution is something which is helping us to know about some basic civilizations. Fine. So Hari is asking, ma'am, are you telling the आपका कमेंट मेरे को दिखाई नहीं दे रहा है, पेपर 2 syllabus? No, I'm not telling you the paper 2 syllabus here, but if you want to know, so you can get directly in touch with me. So I will help you to understand that paper 2 syllabus. Okay, fine. So here, try to understand. As we are evolving, we are also studying about some civilization. With the help of the picture, could you just tell me which civilization is this? So it is basically the Mesopotamia civilization. The Mesopotamian civilization is specified as the cradle of civilization. Why? Like as the cradle used to support the baby to grow, in the same way, Mesopotamia, it helps the other civilization to grow. It provided the basis, and this Mesopotamia civilization, it evolved around 10,000 years ago, and the kind of cultural process related to the Mesopotamia, it evolved, and it is continuously evolving with the passage of the time. How or in what way? Let me just specify. Now, try to understand here the Mesopotamia and their way of living is different. They invented the way of writing. They invented the mechanism of organized government. In the Mesopotamia, this is the way how the civilization had started evolving. Here you will just have the basic comparison that we started cutting down the mountainous region, the rocky region, and started developing the establishments. But later on, with the passage of the time, as we started evolving, we changed from this village system to the organized urban system. And the Babylon and the Ur, they are the basic example where this Mesopotamian civilization can show us that how from the village system, with the passage of the time, civilization is evolving and it reached to the urban settlement. So this is one of the example how we can specify that culture is evolving. Fine. In another way, Mesopotamia, it had shown us, like it is like one of you have answered that Indus Valley civilization. Yes, Indus Valley civilization was also established one, but it was established later on. Like we can specify that Mesopotamia, because it's the cradle of the civilization, so it started from the scratch. And all other civilization, they already have some basic example in front of them, so that they can create their civilization on the same line. Fine. Okay, so this is basically one of the example. Another thing that you can understand related to the cultural evolution, that cultural evolution is also a kind of process where you are taking new thing as well as you are borrowing something from the other existing culture. Fine. So now let me just specify the cultural evolution in the simple terms. Now I am just going to summarize it. So culture evolution is an ongoing process. This ongoing process is specified stages wise, or it includes a series of activities through which we can specify as individuals they grow over a period of time. In the same way, culture grows over a period of time, but the vehicle through which the culture will grow is the civilization. Some civilization they grow from the scratch, but some civilization they are growing after taking or borrowing something from the existing one. This cultural process, it is going to be an ongoing thing, and this process, it will take out the positive as well as the negative things from the existing cultures, but it will grow continuously. Fine. So this is something specified as the culture evolution. Now, can we consider the culture evolution and the religious evolution as the same thing? The answer would be yes, but somehow the answer may be no. How or in what way? Let's try to understand. Here today also I am going to introduce you with another anthropologist, and the name of this anthropologist is the James Fraser. Is the James Fraser. So the James Fraser, he is being considered as a person related to the religious, like he's being specified as a religious evolutionist. He, with the help of his book, The Golden Bough, specified about the Egyptian culture and how those culture they evolved. The like if we have to specify about him, he mentioned about the significance of the magic, the significance of the culture over a period of time. Like how? James Fraser, he said that religion, it evolved from the practices. Magical practices means for the very first time you have the belief in the superstitious things. You really believe that whom you are worshipping is the one having some supernatural power. Means something magic. There are so many gurus, babas, they used to show like I don't want to just like affect the religious sentiment of anyone, but there are so many guru matas and babas that are there who used to specify some mantras, like not in a good way but in a bad way, just to show that they have some supernatural power. If I will mention the name of anyone, I someone like their followers can say something about that, but leave it behind. So now try to understand all those so-called babas and guru matas, they used to show some supernatural thing on the stage. Like they will show like we are having the power, we can bring something out of it, like we can bring the idol of the god from the water, from the empty vessel or something, and the people will feel, oh, they have all the power. There was one more guru, he was creating a chain of the hotel. How he used to say that कृपा आ रही है. So these things, with the help of these things, now why the people they are believing, because they have the belief or they are compelled to believe in the magic system. In the same way, James Fraser, he said how the religion it will start evolve. The religion will start evolving if we have the faith in the magic. So magic or the belief system in the magic practices is the first stage. Another thing is that in the early societies, people used magic to what? To control the nature. Like the rain making rituals. Let me just specify. Uh, in the village system, if in the village system during the monsoon, they are not encountering the rainfall, so they used to specify some basic activities from their side. One is the marriage of the frog. So it is very common that people in the villages, they used to have they used to have a proper setup for the frog marriage. This is something belief system in the magic rituals. Another thing is that some people they used to burn one one prototype of female kid in terms of a gudiya or something, and with the help of this they feel that the rainfall will happen. So these types of activities, they are specifying the belief system in the magic. Later on, like let me just specify you my mother's generation, like my mother, she had specified these examples like frog marriage and that marriage of the gudiya or then burning of the gudiya. So she used to specify that my mother and all her fellow friends and other, they used to do the same activities during the monsoon in her childhood. Now after my mother, my generation, we hadn't encountered such kind of things. Quite possible, uh, because now due to the help of the education, we know what are the basic activities behind the rainfall. Now quite possible the upcoming generation, maybe they don't even know what were these rain making rituals, like having the frog marriage or something. Quite possible many of you don't know how to do that. Exactly, some basic tantric activities, like that not that much, like in that way you are doing that tantric, like having that nimbu michi and all that, not in that way. But here try to understand, you have a belief in some specified magic activities, and now because you have belief, you are practicing them, and because you are practicing them, you are also noticing the changes. Let us suppose there is probability 50%. Rainfall may come, rainfall may not come. Let us suppose at any point of time, because of those activities, rainfall has arrived. So the belief system in the magic, it will strengthen. But now our generation is not believing upon those magic practices. Now we are changing it to the next level. We are associating the rainfall with some scientific process. Scientific process in terms of the evaporation, in terms of the condensation. So in terms of those scientific activities, we are believing that rainfall is associated with those activities. We may have rainfall that is artificial rain with the help of some nuclei, with the help of some dust, and with the help of some cloud seeding or something. But this is how you can understand that religion has evolved. So therefore, now try to understand religion evolution as specified by the James Fraser. He just want to explain that religion again is a continuous process. Once you believed in the magic system, then you practiced those magic, then you started giving up the belief system upon those magical activities, and you started having the belief system upon some scientific understanding. And now onwards, there are so many different things which are taking you to those scientific parts and which is helping you to strengthen your knowledge base. Fine. So now try to understand. Till now we had understood about the cultural evolution. We are doing the cultural process. In the cultural evolution, we are done with the basic aspects of culture, some basic example, and now here we had associated the culture evolution with the religious evolution, means both are ongoing process. And if we have to specify with the help of those activities, we can mention that there are so many different things which are happening over a period of time, and these are helping us to move the societies from the traditional to the modern. How? Like, just try to understand. During the World War II, Japan, it started modernizing itself. Like earlier, in the earlier time, they were having some tea ceremonies, they were having some basic ceremonies. But later on, now they had modernized themselves. And their modernism is taken us to that level that now they are the epitome of technological advancement. If we have to specify the technology, there is going to be only one name, that is Japan. So in that way you can understand that it is culture again is an ongoing process and it will go on and on stepwise. Fine. So this is how we had understood the culture evolution. If you have understood it well, then well and good. If you have any doubt, you can ask for. So now we can also specify that culture evolution, it started with some perception based upon power. Then these perception, they are having some assessment. Assessment is helping us to provide justification for continuing the same process. And if we will assess this in that way, we would be able to manage those activities for the future reference. So this is something that we are specifying in terms of cultural evolution. Okay. So now, how this culture evolution is going to affect us. Culture evolution now is continued with the help of the process where we are teaching the things to our offsprings. Like for example, my mother, she haven't taught us the same ritual that they used to do in their, like in her childhood, basically the frog marriage. Because my mother hadn't taught us the frog marriage, therefore we were not involved in our childhood in those practices. And now, after achieving our own thinking process, we know that those frog marriages, they are not at all going to affect the rainfall pattern. It means offspring and the intensity of the cultural things in the offspring depends upon whom, their surroundings. And in the surroundings, the most important, their parents. So recently, I visited one little boy, and that little boy was related to he was basically belonging to the Sikhism. So the grandfather of that boy is only for 3 or 4 days. So the grandfather of that little boy was uttering Vaheguru, Vaheguru in front of that kid. Now that kid will learn this thing and will start out feeling the association with those particular words and with that particular religious guru. It means parents, they are the first thing that will help us to spread the culture. The way and the intensity through which those parents are going to teach the cultural things to their children, it is going to be specified in the same way. Now, let us take the example of the human culture. So, in terms of the human culture, later on, because you have specified something from your parents, now onward, you will take out these things from the society. Society may include your neighbor, your friend, your known kin group, all those persons who are coming in contact with you. So these people again, they are also going to influence your cultural process. Like over a period of time, you started having the belief system in the other cultural process because you are getting the education. And education is providing you the ability to ask for the justification, to ask for the reason. Therefore, we used to specify that human culture in the initial stage is being specified by the parents, and later on it is being specified by the surroundings. And the surroundings, it includes everything. Uh, Ma'am, our current believing system on digital practice, we call it as magical. Okay. Now, could you please specify the basic example of one single thing that you are referring as magical? Any single thing? If you can, then it would be like easy for me to explain. Okay. Now try to understand. Here, the belief system in the magical practices and the belief system in the cultural or religious ritual, they both are different. Ganpati Puja, where we are having some belief system in the mythological stories, we are having a belief system in a particular thing that is different. Now try to understand. Culture is something which is shared. Culture is something which is learned. Culture is something which is practiced. These 3 to 4 things, they are considered as the willing system, the vehicle through which the culture will be progressive. Magical thing is different. Now, just tell me, Ganpati Puja, is it related to any natural phenomena? Like if you will do the Ganpati Puja, only then there is going to be the rainfall, or only then there is going to be the sunlight or the moonlight or something. Is it the case? No. Ganpati Puja is a symbol. It is a symbolism icon which is specifying a particular culture. So symbol in terms of a culture, they are the vehicle of the culture, but in terms of the religious things, magic is something which requires justification and reason. I hope you are able to understand. Okay, fine. Now we are done with the cultural evolution process. Second, we'll take out to the cultural diffusion. So cultural diffusion is, as you can understand, diffuse means one thing is diffusing into the another. In the culture evolution, remember I said that quite possible you are starting from the scratch, but there are some who may borrow the things and they started developing themselves. So if I have to give a name to those who are borrowing, I can provide them the name of the culture diffusion. So culture diffusion means what? It means a kind of a process where the ideas, the where the tradition, technologies, custom, they move from what? From one group of people to another. It can happen with so many different ways. The first could be the direct contact. The second could be intermediate contact, and the third could be the stimulus diffusion. Means you are getting some sort of stimulus. You are getting inspiration from the other. You are not borrowing, but you are getting the inspiration. And because of those inspiration, you are taking those steps. Fine. Now, try to understand in the simpler terms. Culture diffusion means one culture is diffusing into the another one, and now this diffused culture is providing us so many new things that helping us to evolve as a new part. So over a period of time, you will you will understand that there are so many different cultures. They started evolving in this way only. Now there is no doubt, and I hope no one can argue over this point, that Buddhism it evolved at the region of Indian. So Buddhism it emerged at Indian place. Now Buddhism it spread to the other areas. It spread to the other countries. Like culture diffusion, it spread from India to China, then to Korea, then to Japan. And how it happens? There were some Chinese travelers who were having the main objective just to get the knowledge of the Buddhism based scriptures. Another thing that we can say that Ashoka, he was having that kind of goal in his own mind, and because of that goal he sent his daughter as well as his son to the different part of the world just to spread the Buddhist teaching. And because of that only, some Chinese traveler they visited the Indian place and they started taking out some of the scriptures, some of the positive things related to the Buddhism, and then they took this back to their own region. So from this thing you can specify that Buddhism it started diffusing into the Chinese culture. Or you can also say that Chinese culture they started diffusing into the Buddhism. Now we cannot say that Buddhism diffused or Chinese culture diffused, but we can see the blend of both. And now we can see the different stream of the Buddhism in the Tibetan region. We can see the different form of the Buddhism in the Korea. So these are the best examples. So here you can write down the example Buddhism, okay. Now another thing is that like how we can say the culture diffusion it can really happen. So for the cultural diffusion to happen there could be many ways. There could be any medium. So we may have some indirect medium as well. Like the one of the example for that could be the silk trade route. You must have some of the knowledge of that silk trade route. So with the help of that silk trade route, there is some sort of connectivity, and this connectivity is providing us some route, and because of this route some of the ideas from the Indian land, some of the ideas from the Greek, from the Chinese civilization, they started blending. So this is again one of the example, that is silk route. So silk route is also one of the example. Now the culture diffusion is not only restricted to the cultural or religious thing. Like if I will specify Buddhism, Silk Route, no. Culture diffusion, it also includes the spreading of the tools, the spreading of the way how you are living. Because culture includes everything. It includes art, dance form, eating habit, cuisines, everything. So here we are not only including the cultural aspect, we are also including the tools. We are also including the basic invention. For example, here one of the example again you can write down here, like in terms of tools and invention. Like in terms of tools and invention, we can write down. So the first example could be the China's printing press. Okay, so one of the example is this. Next example it could be, so the first one is the China's printing press. Another example it could be the numeral system of Arabic. So Arabic numeral system, like originally it was developed in India, but due to the lack of the knowledge of the Indian origins or others, we are not able to spread it to the next level. Therefore the Arabic numeral system, it spread from the Arab traders and scholars to the Europe, and that's why the Arabian numeral system, it replaced the Roman numeral system. Originally it developed in India, but we were not having that much thinking, we were not so much aware. So therefore the Arabian numeral system, they just slightly changed some of the terms and they started specifying it's their numeral system. So this is again second example, that Arabian numeral system to Europe. So this is also one of the example for specifying the cultural diffusion. Another example that we can specify related to this is the maize cultivation. So the maize cultivation, specifically it was there in the Central America, but it started spreading from the Central America to the North America and to the South America. So in two region also maize cultivation, I mean the way how the maize should be cultivated. Therefore they are having the active usage of the corn starch in their different types of food system. So it is also one of the examples. So we can just write down maize cultivation from Central America to North America and South America. Okay, so in these two regions, it started spreading out. Okay, so we will have separate batches. So we will have one English medium batch. This batch is basically English medium batch, and we are also having English batch. You just need to fill up the form that is here in the description box. So we will connect with you. Okay. Now, so another thing is in terms of Okay, so another thing is in terms of the books or in terms of the media. Like media in the earliest stage, it was not that much prominent, like because we were not having the tools. But later on, the media in terms of the print media or otherwise, like how it started evolved. So with the passage of the time, it started specifying that society or the world, it should be specified in a squeezed manner where all the other activities from all the different culture, they are being taken at one place. Fine. So now let's try to specify it in simple terms, that is direct contact, intermediate contact and stimulus diffusion. Like here you can understand this is nothing but the cultural diffusion. How? Like in a basic literal form, burger is being, like in terms of a product, it is something that is being, like it is something that is being specified as, like it is something that is being specified as a like western thing, or I can specify American thing. Now this type of the tikki, the type of this part or pattern which is being developed in this region, like if they have to prepare this bread, they can prepare it with the help of the egg for the fermentation or the baking. For the tikki, they are using basically the beef. Another things that they are using the vegetables. If they will just dump the same product in India, could you just imagine it is going to be going to flourish, or they are going to have the sale or something? No, not at all. Because in the first lecture I told you that beef is prohibited in the Indian culture. Not specifically in the Indian culture, but majority of the Indians, they are Hindus, and for the Hindus, beef is a prohibited thing. Why? Because for them, cow is a sacred animal. Fine. Now, they change this sticky specifically in from the beef to the potato. And not only for India, they also started changing it for the different countries in the different shape, in the different form. This is called as what? Cultural diffusion. Means they diffused their product as per the specification of the different culture in the different region. This is the beauty of the concept of cultural diffusion, and I hope you can understand. Okay, so Hari is asking, ma'am, adopting the Western culture, food and habit, dresses, they are comes into the cultural diffusion. Specifically, if I have to answer, you can say yes, but after this thing, I will take you to the next thing, basically the transculturation and as well as the acculturation. So we can specify the example of adopting the food habits or something in the transculturation or acculturation. So it cannot be the basic example of cultural diffusion. Okay. Okay, so in the description box, we have the contact details, as well as you can just fill up the form there and we will connect. So in the description box, you can check for the number. Okay, fine. Now, this is basically one of the example of the cultural diffusion where they just diffused into the culture because they want their product. Now, you can imagine McDonald's and their burger. India is providing a largest market base to the MACD product. It is associated with your status as well as taste, as like you may encounter small outlet of the McDonald at every single place. Okay, not in the rural areas. Yes, I can understand, but otherwise. Okay, fine. Now, take this example, Cherokee syllable writing style. So they were the North Dakota, and they started developing their own syllable writing style. So they basically took the inspiration from the other culture, and they hadn't borrowed something out of it. They started developing their own. So it would be specified as what? Stimulus diffusion. Stimulus diffusion means what? You are not adopting or copying or borrowing their thing, but you are getting inspiration out of it and you are preparing your own. Like for example, we used to specify that we, like in terms of constitution, like Indian constitution is not something, like Indian constitution is not something that is being borrowed or that is being just copied. We are specifying that we had taken inspiration and had interpreted it, like the constitution, in our own way. So this is how the Cherokee syllable. So they just took the inspiration from the other writing syllable and prepared their own, called as stimulus. So you got some inspiration, stimulus, and with the help of that stimulus you started observing or developing your own. Fine. So this is something called as the stimulus diffusion. So I hope you are able to understand what is the cultural diffusion. So we are basically specifying what is the cultural diffusion. Fine. I hope you are able to understand culture evolution. I hope you are able to understand cultural diffusion. Now we are taking to the third aspect, and this third aspect is nothing but acculturation. It is something complicated, so I will go very slow. Okay, so I will go very slow. You just try to be calm and try to understand related to the acculturation process. What do we mean by the acculturation? Okay. Now, the concept of acculturation. Now, let's try to understand the basic details. Then I will take you to the next level where we will try to understand acculturation in normal terms. This is something that you have to write down. Now, the acculturation, the concept of acculturation, it was first developed by Robert Redfield, then Ralph Linton and Herzkovit. We had like Robert Redfield is being mentioned for the very first time, but I had given you the basic definition of the Ralph Linton as well as the Herzkovit related to the culture in the previous classes itself. So these are not the new name. Remember Herzkovit, he said that culture is a man-made environment. Okay, now so these three persons, they provided their joint paper, and this paper was entitled as Memorandum for the Study of Acculturation when in the 1936. So they defined it as the process. According to them, acculturation means what? It is a process. Process that would result from the first hand contact between the groups with different cultures along with subsequent changes in their respective original pattern. Means you are having your own cultural traits, but you started encountering with the another culture who is dominant, who is strong, and because of the strongness, because of the dominateness, you started taking some, you started affecting, you started influencing, and you started taking some part, some attribute from them. This is called as what? Acculturation. Acculturation means you won't leave behind your own culture, but you started coming in contact with the dominant one, and because of that you started changing and you started adopting something. What could be the basic example for that? The basic example would be tribal. So basically, tribal culture is having some sort of assimilation, means similarities with the Indian culture. This is something I feel no one would argue with me. So tribal culture, they are having association with whom? With the Hindu culture. Let me be very clear with the words. How? Hindu culture is having some basic attributes where they are just worshipping the natural things. Like in the Chhat Puja, we are celebrating the presence of the sun. In so many other festivals, we are celebrating, like in the Vat Puja, Vat Savitri, we are worshipping one particular tree. It means the Hindu culture having association with the naturalism. Now these tribal people, they are worshipping what? Nature. They are worshipping the mountain, they are worshipping the sun, they are worshipping the rain god, something related to the nature, specifying the natural things. Now, tribal, due to the less followers and due to the other fact, they are less in terms of number. Now in front of these tribal, we are having Hindu culture who are more in number. So can I say this tribal culture is the weaker or minor one and this Hindu culture is the major one? So I can specify tribal culture as minor and Hindu culture as major. Okay, now the both will come into contact with each other. Now kindly don't ask what is this base, like what is the mechanism for this contact? Is it going to be direct, indirect stimulus? No. For the acculturation, and if you want to get affected, you need to have direct contact. So the tribal culture and the Hindu culture, the minor and the major one, they will get into touch. They will have the direct contact. You know very well that this Hindu culture is the dominant one. So it is the dominant one. Now, this dominant culture, it will get in touch with the minor culture. Now this minor culture, because it is small, it will get affected and it will get influenced with this Hindu culture, and quite possible they started taking some of their activities. Quite possible they started, like they won't give up their own activity, but they will start up changing the way of doing the worship. So quite possible this could be one of the thing. Like one of the example I can specify is, like if I have to be very much specific, so if I have to be very much specific, so the best example for this could be the Santhal tribe. Fine, so Santhal tribe, already they were worshipping the nature, and later on they came into the contact with the Hindu culture. Why? Because they found some association, like they found that Hindu culture, they are also worshipping the animals, they are also worshipping the nature, and later on they started some of the activities. They started from the Hindu culture, they started worshipping the Ma Durga during the Durga Puja. They started worshipping the Ganpati ji during the Ganpati Puja. So this is basically specified as what? Acculturation. Fine. So let me again specify you in the simple term. Acculturation is a process where two culture will come in the contact of each other. One is going to be the minor one is going to be the major one. So the minor one will start taking up the things from the dominant culture, from the major culture, and they started adopting those things in their culture. Quite possible called, we can call this as the change over a period of time. Fine. Now later on, the Santhal tribe, they started giving up their practices and they started adopting the same thing as a Hindu culture. Means there is going to be one point where the minor culture, they will started giving up their activities and they will started assimilating, means वो completely मिल जाएंगे, they will started assimilating into the dominant culture and will become a part of it. Okay, so this is acculturation. Fine. Now you would ask me, ma'am, then what is the difference between acculturation and the diffusion? Look, diffusion means what? It means one thing is getting diffused. Means, let us suppose MACD, they have to set up their eating pattern in the Indian region. So what they did? They changed their way as per the Indian requirement. Here in the acculturation, you are having your own identity. No one is asking you to change, but due to the continuous contact, you started taking those activities. You are not changing the previous one, but later on with the passage of the time, you started changing the previous one itself. Fine. So this is called as acculturation. Now, acculturation could be due to the two factors. One is being specified as self-interest. So you are adopting it because you are having interest. Another thing is you are in the pressure, like somehow you are in the pressure and because of that also you have to specify it. Okay, so this is something that you need to understand. I hope you can specify this part. Now, this is something, this is something Okay, so this is something due to the self-interest and this is something under the pressure, like depends upon you. Now, this acculturation process having some prerequisites, having some requirements. What are those? First thing, you must have close and continuous contact. You must have close and continuous contact. Next, you should have similarities in the culture pattern. And next, you should have some similarities in the objective. Let's take the example related to this thing only, Santhal tribe. So, Santhal tribe, they must have close and continuous contact with the Hindu culture. Is it possible? Yes. Why? Because where the Santhal tribe is living near to the Chota Nagpur plateau, this region is being surrounded by the Hindu habitation. Next, they should have similarity in their culture pattern. Do we have? Yes. Santhal tribe and their practices like worshipping the naturalism is similar as Hinduism is also worshipping the nature. So because you are finding some sort of similarities, because of that only you are getting attached with them, you are getting attracted toward them. The third one is you should have some similarities in your objective. So your basic objective is the humanity or your basic object is to have strong culture. So this is something that we are specifying. I hope you can understand in the complete terms what do we mean by the acculturation. If is it the case, then it's fine. If you have any doubt, you can ask for. Okay. Now moving forward, we can take another example from these two tribes. One is the Kubu tribe. So Kubu tribe, it is a forest dwelling tribe and where they are living in the Indonesia. So they have traditionally, in terms of their nature, like they are dependent upon the hunting and gathering for their living. But after coming into contact with the mainstream Indonesian society, they started wearing clothes, they started going to the school. So they changed their way. So the change in their way is being specified as what? Being specified as acculturation. Now, Hari, I just want to ask you this question from you. You asked me that, ma'am, if we are changing the cultural food, habit, dresses, it would be specified as culture diffusion or not. Now I want to ask you, is it being specified as acculturation? Hanji, tell me. Hurry. So, do you get the answer for your question? Whenever you are changing your dress system, whenever you are changing your habits, your cultural food, something, it would be as a part of acculturation process. Not diffusion, but acculturation process. Okay, so he's basically asking where you can get the PDF. So you can get the PDF of this lecture from the official Telegram channel of the Sunya IAS, Sunya IAS Anthropology. That is the official Telegram channel where you can get the PDF of this lecture and the previous lecture also. Hanji. So basically, yeah, it comes under the acculturation process. Like next, second one, Sand tribe. Now, the Sand tribe of the Botswana, they were traditionally nomadic. Nomadic means living at one place, then changing it to the another. As soon as they are just going to end up with all the resources at one place, so they started consuming it there and they started taking it to the another level. So, this is the basic requirement that they have to change the place. But as soon as they started the basic activities of those places, they started working as a wage laborer. After contact with the mainstream society, they started taking up these types of things. Fine. Later on, when we will be having the next classes, next lecture, like I will take you to the advanced level as well, where I will show you some of the case studies, documentary videos as well. Those are going to be part of our lecture, because those documentary videos, they will help you to understand the culture as well as some of the practices with a very front view. You will feel the association, and that's why it will provide you a long term memory. Fine. Okay, so this is something that you understood in terms of the example. So the case studies, they are the most important thing. First example was the Santhal tribe. Second case study, the Kubu tribe and the Sand tribe. Fine. Now, this acculturation model is not being specified as a single process. As I told you, first you will have something in your mind. I mean, you have some sort of similarities, you have contact, then you have similarities, then you get attracted, then you started adopting, then you, after the adoption, you started assimilating, and then you started becoming a juncture of the cultural things. So this is what we started having, like in terms of a basic phenomena. This is what we need to understand. Now, this acculturation process, if I have to specify, is coming out of these four factors in a simple terms. Simple term means what? The first one that we have to specify is the integration, then assimilation, then marginalization, and then separation. This is the basic process. Here, try to understand the assimilation, how this will happen. Okay? The assimilation, it basically involves a process in which the group will adopt a new culture, and this culture will virtually replace the original culture. Means you will started assimilating into one culture, and you started giving up the activities of your own, or quite possible not giving up, but you started discontinuing them because now you don't have the time. So therefore, assimilation is one of the process of the acculturation, where you started adopting the new culture and you started replacing your old cultural practices. So how it is being specified? It is being specified when you encountered with a different culture. Now here, with the help of this example, find out. So this is one red person and these are two black person. So the red person will feel that quite possible I have some similarities, so I can have the association with the another culture, and with the help of that I can find out some sort of similarities, and because I'm having some sort of similarities I can quite possible continue or maybe discontinue with them. Fine, but if you choose to continue, so you will continue this part, you will continue this process. Fine, okay. Next part as being specified as marginalization. So quite possible if you find out similarities, you will start adopting the new culture. But if you are not finding out the similarity, you will start feeling isolated, you will start feeling separated from them, and you will feel marginalized. It means quite possible at this point of time you are getting in touch with them based upon the self-interest. Quite possible if you are not getting association with them, you may change into the marginalized system or you may get marginalized. So this could be one of the factor or one of the process. Another part is being specified as separation and segregation. Separation and segregation is being specified as a process where individual they come in contact with a new cultural group, but you does not embrace the aspect of the new culture. Means you come in the contact with each other, but you started noticing that these are the differences between our culture, and you are not assimilating with them. You started separating with them. You started saying, oh, this is the way the things are being done in your culture. No, this is not our own way. We will have a different, and you started feeling, you started flaunting your own way. Means once you started assimilating, but then you found that no, you cannot continue, you marginalize. But once you marginalize, then you have separation or segregation system, and at last if you are able to integrate in the same way, you will started integration. Means you adopt to the new culture while you are also maintaining the old cultural aspect. So you are not considered as odd one out, but you are being considered as a part of the same or the similar. Okay, so here try to understand. This is the basic process of acculturation, where first you are assimilating, then you are marginalized, then it's leading to the separation and segregation, and at last integration. So these are the basic process, and with the help of these basic process, you are trying to understand the acculturation model. I hope you are able to understand how we are holding it. So acculturation, it can happen at so many points. Acculturation can happen at many grounds. Okay, those could be the ground as well as the career. I mean, at okay, at which point we can feel like acculturation can happen. So the example or the point where acculturation can happen is, first it could be the language. So language can become the basis for the acculturation process to happen. So for example, the Urdu language. So Urdu language is being considered as a blend of the Arabic language as well as the blend of the Persian language. It includes some of the words of the Turkish language. So these are being considered as the blend. Whereas if we have to consider the Hindi language, so Hindi language is again amalgamation of the different languages which are specifying the culture. So acculturation, so one of the type of the acculturation, it could be language. So language which includes the blend of various culture. So it may include blend of different cultures. So example, Urdu language. Okay, then second the best could be the food. So food is basically a kind of aspect which has taken so many things from different cultures. So for the food, I don't think I need to give the example, because the different type of cuisines from the different culture, it is being taken out as a process. So Persian culture, they has influenced almost all aspect of the Indian societies. So for example, in the previous class itself, I had given you the example, like the pizzas and the pasta, they are the example of the Italian food, but now we have given the India's touch, where we specified the dal makhni pizza and the paneer tikka pizza, these and that. So this is something that we have to specify. Fine. Now, in terms of the food, food is the carrier of the acculturation, because food is something that is having changes. Like in the previous time period in India, we have only one thing, that is the sattvic food. But later on, over a passage of the time, over a period of time, we started taking the things from the Western culture. The way, like, let me give you the example. Pulses. So we Indians, like in terms of the basic aspect, we are the largest producer, largest importer, largest consumer of pulses. It means pulses is one of our staple food diet. It's a part of our staple food diet. Now, in the earlier time period, people used to cook the pulses while having one open vessel filled with the water at one chulha or something. But later, what happened is, with the help of the new tools, technologies, vessels, we started using the the cooker, and in the cooker it is being boiled. Because of that, the quantity of the uric acid that should come out of that vessel from the water in the form of a foam, now is being cooked inside the cooker and is being part of the pulses. Now we all are consuming that pulses being cooked in the cooker. So therefore, basically in the pressure cooker. So therefore, now many of Indians, they are facing the issues of having the arthritis, because the pulses being cooked in the pressure cooker having the more uric acid content than the pulses being cooked in a open vessel. I hope you can understand. We have changed our way of cooking the food. So this is like in the food, the way of cooking the food. Okay, so example, pulses being cooked in the pressure cooker. Instead of open vessel on chulha. Okay. Now, third career for the acculturation, it could be the architect. So, architecture, it could be one of the example. So the architecture is having the blend of different types of culture. So this is being specified as the another like the Christian churches in the Kerala, the kind of the small choreography there is being specified in the language of the Kerala, basically the Malayalam and the other as well. For example, the structure of like the jali work, the Charbagh system. This is being taken from the Islamic architecture in the Hindu, in the traditional Hindu architecture. So these could be one of the examples. So here we can write down the Jali work and Charbagh garden system. Okay, so these are basically the example for the acculturation. I hope you are able to understand. Fine. So with the help of this part, we have understood something about the acculturation. Now moving towards the next part, and the next part is nothing but it is the transculturation. So here you need to correct it. So it is transculturation. Okay, so Cuban anthropologist Fernando Ortiz, he introduced the idea of the transculturation. Transculturation means you are having two culture. These two culture, they are taking one or two part out of it. So you are basically so the culture is basically including two things. One, for example, it could be culture A, second culture B. Both the culture they are at the same level, both are at the dominant position because they are coming in the contact with each other. So they are just scrutinizing. Both are having some good and the bad points. So out of their own choice, they are taking some positive aspect. So this is how they are being specified. I hope you can understand. Now, this is trying to help us related to the idea of the transculturation where they are explaining how different cultures they blend together. So it is not just about one group is copying the another. It's a kind of a deeper process where both the culture they are coming in the contact and they both are adopting the things from each other. So this is how it is being specified and I hope you are able to understand it completely. Now, Hari is asking on the culture topic come in both paper 1 and paper 2 this lecture. Okay, let me specify. Culture is part of the paper 1, unit 2.1. Some aspect of the culture also being specified in the unit 6, paper 1 and the unit 7, paper 1. But culture is not coming under the paper 2. So, it like culture in this form is not constituting the paper 2, it is only in the paper 1. And this lecture, like this lecture series for covering the unit 2 is more than sufficient for covering the cultural aspect. I hope you can understand. Fine. Okay. Now, for example, in terms of transculturation, country like India, where the people of different ethnic group they live together, culture they have blended over the centuries. Now, you may ask one of the question that ma'am, then how transculturation or culturation, they both are different. Because in both these culture, we are having blend. So here try to understand. If I am specifying a culturation, if I have to specify a culturation, so in a culturation, thing is this, let us suppose this is culture A and this is culture B. So they are coming in the contact of each other. So this is the minor culture. This is the major culture. Or I can specify it is the dominant one. Okay, so it is the dominant one. So here we are specifying that minor one is undergoing major changes. And major one is also affecting, but it is undergoing minor changes. So here, which one is affecting more? So the culture A, because it is the minor one, is affecting more. Next is the transculturation. So in case of the transculturation, we are having two culture, culture A and culture B. Both are of same level. And these are undergoing changes. I hope this comparison is more than enough just to make you understand the basic difference between acculturation and transculturation. Okay, fine. Now moving towards the other part, and this is basically the last part for the process of the enculturation. So in case of the enculturation, as the name suggests, this is a process and it is the most simplest part. This is the process by which a person adopts the behavior pattern of the culture he lives in. Means enculturation is the process through which the parents are introducing the cultural things to their children. This is called as enculturation. So whenever you are introducing your cultural things to your children, this process of teaching the cultural things to the offspring, this is called as what? Enculturation. Now again you will ask me the same question, ma'am, if this is the case, then what is that you have shown us in the cultural evolution? So let me just show you. So when we were doing the cultural evolution process, I have shown you this picture. Culture evolution, human gene, parents to offspring. This is culture evolution, human gene. But this process of cultural things transferring from parents to offspring, this process is called as what? This process is called as cultural, like this process is called as what? Enculturation. Where we used to specify introducing cultural things to offspring. Whenever you are introducing, means in our culture we have to do namaste, we need to touch the feet of the elders, and this is how we have to do the work. I hope you are able to understand. So this is how enculturation, this process used to happen. I hope you have understood all the basic parts of the cultural process. We started with the cultural evolution, then cultural diffusion, then acculturation, then transculturation, and at last enculturation. So enculturation is the most simplest one. Now let me give you one of the one last aspect which is being specified as the contra acculturation. Contra acculturation. Okay, so contra acculturation, as the name suggests, it is going to be opposite for the acculturation. So it is going to just being the opposite of the acculturation. Because it is specified as opposite to the acculturation, so acculturation is considered as assimilation. Means why? Because you are assimilating into the another culture. You are taking or adopting some of the things out of the other culture. So acculturation is assimilation to a different culture, whereas it is opposite to the acculturation. Therefore, contra acculturation, it reflects that you are having revolt against the acculturation. Means, for example, let us suppose tribal culture is like is being influenced from due to the Indian culture. Let us suppose, quite possible they may take some of the positive thing out of it. They started, like as I gave you the example, they started taking the part in the Durga Puja, they started taking part in the Ganpati Puja. This is one of the aspect. Now let us suppose, because of the close contact with the Hindu culture, let us suppose the tribal culture, they started feeling animosity. They started feeling that this may lead to sort of affect to their cultural things, their cultural aspect. Let us suppose they are facing this type of issues. So if they started feeling this type of apprehension, they started rejecting the acculturation. They started rejecting the dominance of the dominant culture, and that's why it is called as contra acculturation. You are completely aware of your cultural things, and because of that you are having some sort of strong hold, some sort of strong connection, strong connect. I hope you can understand completely. Fine. So contra acculturation is opposite of acculturation, aware of its own culture and rejecting the dominance of another culture. So this is what we used to specify related to the contra acculturation. This is something that we can just think upon. Like in terms of the example, we can just give like the Western society, basically the British culture, they started showing their influence upon the tribals, and tribals, they started feeling apprehensions due to so many factors, like because the Britishers, they started holding their land, they started holding upon their areas. So because of that also, we had encountered so many tribal revolts. So Birsa Munda revolt, as a rejection of influence and dominance of of British culture. Okay, so this is basically one of the example of the acculturation, oh sorry, contra acculturation. So Hari is asking the example of contra acculturation. We can say it as atheist. You can specify atheist is basically a part of the contra acculturation, but this is not the only case. It is one of the example. Like for example, I completely reject the activities of the Western culture, so I can be the contra acculturation. Let us suppose if I adopt the Western culture as per the convenience, I could be acculturation, like I could be related to the process of acculturation. So atheists, they are the only example. This is not the case. They are one of the example. It depends upon culture to culture. For example, the Jain culture. So now the society is having some sort of diffusion. Now they are specifying the food which is Jain friendly, not having like the animal based product which are impacting the nature or these and that. So this could be one of the example. I hope now you can able to understand. Fine. Okay, so this is how we are basically done with the complete part of the culture, the nature of culture. And I like in the UPSC syllabus, this is the only thing that is mentioned, the nature of culture, but we have covered so many aspects related to the nature of culture, where we covered out the complete part, the characteristics, the features, the culture pattern, the culture process, the type of the culture, everything. Fine. Now in the next class, we will take it to the next part, that is the part B. Part A, it was the lengthy one. Part B, part C and part D, which is basically part of this. B, C and D, these three, we will be having these three lecture in the next, like we will be having these three topic in the next lecture. Our next lecture is going to be on the Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. One more thing I just want to ensure you here, that we are launching our Anthropology Foundation course for 2026 in both the mode offline and online. So we are going to launch this batch soon. What you just need to do is you just need to fill the form that is there in the description box. So we will connect with you. And if you have any doubt, you can just ask personally. You will get the number in the description box. From there, you can connect with us. Related to this class PDF, so we will share, like I will share this class PDF in the official Telegram channel of the Sunya IAS, Sunya IAS Anthropology. This is the official Telegram channel. There you can find out all the PPTs of previous classes and this class as well. Okay. So if you have any doubt, you can get in touch with me directly, as the number is mentioned in the description box. Fine. So thank you so much for today. If you have any doubt, so we will have the continuous session as well. So thank you so much.